Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the October SVC Speaker Series talk. This week, we're celebrating Women's Entrepreneurship Week, which is being observed by 160 universities in 32 countries and over 6 continents. To help Stephen celebrate Women's Entrepreneurship Week, we're honored to have as our speaker Meg Walsh, a recognized, successful serial woman entrepreneur who is an inspiration to all, women and men. Meg is the co-founder of Whiteley, a artificial intelligence and machine learning company where cloud-based machine uses advanced predictive algorithms to take the guesswork out of digital web, I can't even say it, never mind do it, email, mobile, and video campaigns. Whiteley is Ms. Walsh's 5th startup. Her 4 earlier startups were either acquired by Fortune 100 companies or have exited in an initial public offering. Meg is a proven entrepreneur and recognized as a leading visionary in marketing, digital, social, mobile, and pharma business processes. She holds a BA in business, communications, pre-med, and women's studies from Rider University. She has received over 20 awards, including Healthcare Businesswomen's Association 2014 Luminary Award, Top 40 Healthcare Transformers, and Hall of Fame as a National Collegiate Athletic Association D1 athlete. Please join me in welcoming Meg, who will inspire us with her experience of leadership and entrepreneurship. Thanks for joining us, Meg.
Thank you for having me. So this is the first time I've spoken on women entrepreneurism and had more men in the class. So that's fascinating to me. There's only 5 women in here versus more men. That's fantastic. Okay, so let me just talk a little bit first to tell you why am I standing up here. So totally by mistake. I went to college just like everybody else. I went to Rider on a basketball scholarship. I was a pre-med major, and at that time they would not let me stay pre-med because it was pre-NCAA and I could not miss the labs to go to the games. So I had the choice of giving up my scholarship or staying pre-med, so out the door went pre-med. And I became a business major and graduated as a business major from Rider. I started a very traditional career after that. I went to Johnson & Johnson, my friend back there. We have a long history. And I then left Johnson & Johnson and I worked for Bell. And in Bell Atlantic, which was New Jersey Bell at the time, which is now Verizon, they had a program that was called the In-Depth Program. And it was basically 8 students, recent graduates, that were rats in a cage. I don't know how else to describe it. And in the period that I was there, the idea was they would bring us in at a 2nd level manager. So when people go in, they go in as employees. The first promotion level is 1st level. The 2nd promotion level is 2nd level. And most people, 2nd level takes them 20 years to get there. So they take these 8 college children, throw them in, and of course the managers were very upset. What were we doing there at this level that they had to spend years to earn? And the design of this was that every manager that got one of us had to sign off that they were going to agree to take us because it required paperwork. And we were almost like in a clinical study of management. And my jobs were the following. I went to splicing school. I had to go up in the bucket truck and I had to learn how to be a splicer as if I was a guy going to there. At the time it was 100% men to be a splicer. Then I had to go to installation school. I can install any jack in any house right now, even though we don't need them anymore. And then the next thing they did was throw me into a garage of men in Ocean City, New Jersey, who had been there for 30 years and made me their manager. So in walks this girl, I'm 20-something. Now, I'm 55 acting like this energy. Can you imagine what I was like when I was 20? And they're like, what are you doing here? Like, we don't want this girl running this garage. And, you know, those guys were not very happy about that, as you can imagine. And I think this is a really good story for Women's Entrepreneur Week. And it hasn't gotten really much better, guys, in this room. So I hope you're not that guy when you go into the work world, because it's still tough. Very qualified women. The numbers still don't reflect that. That's ridiculous, and it should. It's the same as any diverse group. It shouldn't matter. It's just talent. And I feel very strongly about that, and I hope you do too. So anyway, I go into this garage of men, and because it was Ocean City, New Jersey, those guys didn't move around a lot, right? That's very, very far south. Most of them were locals, and in many of the garages in North Jersey where it's busy, they might work in numerous towns, numerous garages, get promoted, but not down there. Most of the guys had been there about 20 years. And when I went in, they were very upset. The first level guys that were in there managing the garage, and we're talking about probably around 25 guys as workers, an office up front doing the dispatching, and 4 managers that managed them. So I was their boss. Those managers who were in their 40s and 50s, very gruff. I mean, these are telephone installer guys. And then here I am. Now, here I am, not now. Here I am at 20-something years old, okay? It was terrible. Every day I would go in, they'd have naked pictures up on the locker. They would go out on a job and they would come back and say, there's a chemical in this can and I'm putting a grievance and I won't work today because of OSHA. So they were just busting my chops, basically. Every single day they came in to bust my chops about something. And I was getting, because I was an athlete, I was tough enough to really realize what was happening. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to go on much longer. I complained and the guys would come down and try to fix it, the bosses, and it really was unpleasant. And there was one guy in particular who was just really horrible to me. What now would be illegal and he would be fired. But back then it wasn't like that, right? It was a toughen up kind of a situation. And one day he was just particularly vicious to me. And I said, what is it going to take? I like whipped around, right? And I was like, what is it going to take for you to stop doing this? Like, I was put in this job. I didn't choose this job. I said, why don't we go out in the parking lot and just have a pole climbing race? Is that what you're going to reduce me to? You know, is that what you want to do? Because really what I was saying is, let's step outside. Like, are you going to have a fight or what do you want to do? Are you just going to keep giving me a hard time every day? And he goes, yeah, sure. Now, at that time in the phone company, when you climbed a pole, there was a metal thing on your boot that you strapped around your leg with leather, and that had about an inch long spike, and that was it. There was no, you weren't strapped to that pole. You had to hold on, and you stuck it in and went up, and stuck it in and went up and climbed the pole. I was terrified. I hated it. It was horrible, right? And when you got up at the top, only then, and risking your life, you could lean in and put a strap around you and hold on. But it was really kind of life-threatening, actually, to me. So we go out, and the guy says yes, and I'm thinking to myself, I have to do this. Like, there's no way I can back down on this guy, right? I have to go climb this pole. So the whole garage empties out, as you can imagine. I am surrounded by 50 men. There was not one woman, one other woman, because we were in the back, where the trucks and everything were. And I got on, and everything that I ever knew about why I got a scholarship for basketball and everything else, I had to turn on at that moment. And I climbed that pole, and I beat that man up. I beat him up the pole. I come down the pole, and every guy in the yard, you would have thought we won the Super Bowl. They are screaming and hooting and hollering, and this poor man was never going to live that down for the rest of his career. And nothing was really said to me, like, except, wow, that was great, and ha, 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 and everybody goes back into work. So I'm like crying in my car, after work. I'm like, literally, I was crying. I was like, this is, crazy. So the next morning when I come into the garage, it was like the queen, kind of like I was Meghan Markle right now. So I pull up my car in the front, I go into the dispatch, find out the day's chores, whatever, and I drive my car to the back garage. I walk in, and it took me a minute. All the pictures were down. Everybody was looking at me. Good morning, Meg. And I'm like, okay, this is a little bit weird. I go into my office. We do the plan for the day. I go in for the guys. This was what you do when you tell them what they're going to do for the day, whatever. Couldn't be nicer. Yes, ma'am. Got it. Blah, blah, blah. They go out. They come back at the end of the day. Every single job is done spec. Everybody is in the garage. And from that day forward, I was like the queen. They did the jobs right. They couldn't have supported me more. And it got to be this relationship over time where it was like, go ahead, Jimmy, you could go. And then I would walk in and be like, you got a new haircut, I love it. And the whole culture, as you can imagine, of the garage completely changed. And actually, over time, they liked it in a different way. It was nicer. There was a dynamic and a lesson for all of them. I think probably, except for the 5 guys that you see on TV now that are still doing it, right? That toxic masculinity, except for those few that were still left over, those people in that garage saw how dumb what they had done to me was. They couldn't believe I had the nerve to go and just defend myself to such a level, and that I walked in the next day. And they were like, wow, like that earned a level of respect I shouldn't have had to do. But it earned a level of respect that I was willing to stand for myself in such a way that they were really impressed, right? And they were like, okay, now we're going to do our job. I'm not saying any of that story is okay. Nowadays, it would be a lawsuit, or it would be, they would have gotten really in big trouble, thankfully. It was really wrong, right? But it certainly had an impact on me. And the impact on me that it had is that I never allowed it again as a woman in my life, career-wise. And we know, working at J&J, you're with a lot of people who smile to your face, and it's not that way, and not a lot of tolerance for diversity back then. And there was a way that I walked in to my life professionally from that moment on that I never had that issue again. And why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that for the women in the room. I'm telling you that for the men in the room. So it's important. And then I'm telling you that because that was what gave me, I believe, the original strength to become an entrepreneur. It gave me something, the fearlessness that I could accomplish just as much as anybody else. It really did give me that knowledge, I think, going forward. So I had a pretty normal career up until that point and after, and I eventually got into the agency business. And in 1995, 95, 96, the commercial internet was just starting. And ESPN was just starting online, and it was really the beginning. And I was managing for an agency a drug called Claritin, which many of you, I'm surely know, the allergy product Claritin. And at that time, it was a blockbuster product, and they had a ton of money. And it was we had just all pioneered direct-to-consumer advertising, so drugs just started showing up on television. And then this group of guys, one of whom is the head of oncology at Genentech right now, still in the business like me, said, we want a website. Now, 1996, some of you might not have been born, right? Is that true? Yeah, I bet that's true, yeah. So 1996, so I go into the building and at Shearing Plow and go downstairs. There was no IT department because laptops were non-existent, and computers were on the floor. And they were about the size of 2 of these desks if you were lucky, right? So I go downstairs and say, we want to build a website. And the phone guys in the company at the time, because the only guys that were in IT, so to speak, were networked telecommunications guys, said, if you bring that internet thing into this building, we will make sure you never work here again. This was Shearing, Plow, and Kenilworth. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound very promising, right? I go upstairs and I say, we can't have a website. They're not going to let you have a website. And he's like, oh, we're going to have a website. And I was like, okay, well, let me try again. So I went out to find developers. They weren't even called that then. Just guys that could build a website. Anybody that could build a website. I could not find them. So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I have to quit my job. And she's like, of course you're not. Like, you're not quitting your job. And I was like, no, really, I have to quit my job because I have to go work with individual people I have found to build the first healthcare website on the internet. And she was like, oh my God, that's so ridiculous, right? And nobody had heard of the internet. So I quit my job. We made up the name on a napkin. It's one of those stories. And I opened up a company called Health Tech Digital Communications, which was the first digital agency in healthcare, to build the Clarendon website. That was the only thing. So I didn't really like write a business plan or form a company, or I didn't really know. I never heard the word entrepreneur. I didn't know what they were. They weren't like now. But I found a bunch of guys, and that's what we did. We went off and we built what was the first commercial website for Clarendon on the internet. Pretty big deal. That company, by the time we did that, every other drug company in the world wanted a website. I sold that company within a year and a half to Interpublic Group, okay, and went to run it for them because Xenical, the diet drug, was launching, and they needed a website. So when that happened, and I went in and presented and did what I'm doing now, and they were like, we're going to buy you. And I was thinking to myself, like, you're going to buy me? What does that mean? No, we're going to buy your company, Meg. And I was like, went home like, they want to buy my company. Like, what do I even price my company at? Like, this was a ridiculous thing back then, right? You know? And I happened to be on the board of Rigor. And one of the guys was a partner at Deloitte. Now, I went and said, like, they want to buy my company. And he was like, that's fantastic. Of course, you know, and he's like, what is it capitalized? And what's your pre-money? And I was like, I don't know. We make $12 million. And he was like, you're going to make a lot of money. And I thought, this is really a good idea. This, like, you make up a company and you go and you build it up and you sell it. I was like, I'm kind of digging this thing called entrepreneurism. So that's how it started. In between my companies, I always go work a corporate job. Now, I do that because I'm a little bit older. When I started, I was not a young kid like you guys that might become an entrepreneur and you stay in it or you like that. At the time, I was older already by the time that I started, and so I would always do one company, sell it, and then go back into the corporate world and do some bigger job that's stable and 100 people to turn a light bulb, and then I would found something else. So my specialty became every time there was a new technology, first it was the web, the next was mobile, I would start a company. I would go to all the pharmaceutical companies and teach them that technology, do that initial work, and sell the company. I am the most exited tech CEO, one of, to the Fortune 100 in the country, male or female. I don't walk around owning that. I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. I don't walk around with the attitude or the feeling or anything. It just so happens that I happen to really enjoy that. And I know healthcare cold, and I know the pharma companies cold, and I know how to do that really well. I also do CPG companies because healthcare is regulated, so you can't really be as innovative as you need. By the time I founded my third company, then I could proudly stand up here and say, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody better if you needed to start a company than I am at it. And some of the reasons of that are the fundamentals of business. Fortunately for me, I was trained very fundamentally. Big companies who actually did training. I learned how to do a P&L. I learned how to manage a budget. I learned things as simple as Excel and PowerPoint and writing and all of that. We had to do all of that. So when I opened my first company, I managed that. I had HR. I knew how to do processes. I had forms they had to fill out. I had, processes to do sales because I had been trained that way. I can tell you that is the key to my success. When I walk in, I just inherited a company called Whiteley from a bunch of venture capitalists who had a bunch of tech guys incubated, and the tech was very, very good. Marketing automation, basically, I'm going to show you in AI, with AI. So I went in, I looked at what they had, I basically shut down everything, I looked at all their documentation, I documented everything. We documented the technology, I documented the processes. If a client calls, what happens, then what do you do? I made every person write a department guide. What is account management going to look like? Client service. What is the finance department going to do? Within 90 days of walking in that door, I had that place whipped into shape. Why do I do that? I do that because that's how you scale a business. So one of the reasons so many entrepreneurs fail is that they come up with a good idea and they're running it and they get some money or they get some clients or whatever, but they have absolutely no clue of the discipline it takes to run a profitable business. They just don't do it. And everything you're learning here is so critical to do that. I never use my math, baloney. You will use it. You will use your speaking ability, your writing ability, everything you do, you will use. And when I teach classes, and I teach here, entrepreneurism here to the engineers, I talk very much in the beginning about hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are your math, your computer science, your thing, but the soft skills are what makes you a winner. And the soft skills are negotiation, relationships, looking somebody in the eye when they talk to you, being able to write an email well, being able to write a document, present up in front of the room a PowerPoint presentation and be powerful and engaging and confident, right? Compassion, huge. Empathy for your coworkers, for diversity, huge issues in diversity still. That takes empathy. Very hard to teach, but something that is critical to success. And if I was to look at 5 companies like mine, I can tell you 4 will fail or 3 will fail just by numbers. And the 2 that are standing have the very same philosophy I do. Their operations, the rigor of the company, the way that they run it is tight. And the people have respect for each other first, because I can get you in a conference room at 3 in the morning if you trust me. If you know that we have to deliver to a client and you believe that I'm guiding you properly, you'll stay till 3 in the morning to help me together. Now, if I didn't take the time to get to know you, why are you late every morning? Because I take my daughter to school. What's your family look like? What's your situation at home? I take care of my whole family. I got my parents living with me, my grandparents living with me. That's my culture. That's what we do. All of it's on me, right? If I don't know that about you, and then I say, come work at my fancy AI firm, when that 3 in the morning call comes, you're not the same person as the person who I took the time to get to know, who I gave off last Tuesday because you just said you needed it, who comes in late every day because they dropped their kid off. That's a soft skill. And it's what makes you successful. And it would be what would make all of us like each other, regardless of anything, skin color, nationality, anything else. I could get you all to do that because I'd get you all to talk to each other. And I can guarantee that this group in this room right now, I could hire no skills and we would have a successful company. I hire secretaries that I make account people because I sat and interviewed them and they were so powerful and so confident and so together that I just trained them. And what taught me that? That first experience, right? Because had you said, could you be a splicer, what would I have said? Hell no. I'm not going up on that pole. There's not a chance I'm going up there, right? I wouldn't have done it. But the design of that program was, let's see how far people can achieve. Not one of those 8 kids failed. Any job they gave us, because of the design of it, we succeeded in. I did learn how to climb a pole. I did go to splicing school. I even fell down a pole and had splinters all the way down my legs and got up the next day and went back up that pole like it was what you had to do. And I worked with a lot of different people. And after that experience, I taught a lot of men in the pharmaceutical industry how to treat people. And about me, how to treat me, right? With respect and no boundaries. And that's what makes me a successful entrepreneur. It isn't only the business plan. Any one of you can come up with a good idea. It isn't just the investment. Because even if I gave you $50 million, if you can't run a business, you're going to lose it. Even that much money. I watch people lose it all the time. You won't know how to manage a budget to be profitable. You wouldn't know how to set up HR to have the right forms, to make sure everybody's protected, to train people on diversity and workers' comp and, all things you don't think of. That's entrepreneurism. It's not just some high-flying thing. And the ones that have been good at it are the ones that either maximize their strength or surround themselves, okay? And Facebook is a really good example. So Chris Cox, who is really the product guy at Facebook, who works with Mark, they know they're not Sheryl Sandberg, right? So they went and got her. And she is an old-fashioned, Accenture type, buttoned-up COO. She knows exactly how to do those books, manage that HR, do all of that stuff, so they can work on the product. I have certain things I'm really strong at. I do not touch things that I'm not, and I'm really humble about saying, I really stink at that, please don't make me do that, right? I get people who can help me to work on my challenges while I let go, and I just focus on what I'm really good at. That's also part of it, right? Humility is a soft skill. Empathy is a soft skill. Compassion is a soft skill. But when I interview, if I don't feel it, you won't be successful. And now I'm so good at it, after hiring so many people, thousands, I can tell in the first 5 minutes of an interview that in 10 years, the level that person will be at. By the way they behave, unless something happens to them, like happened to me, to change them, I get a pretty good gut feel of the level they're going to be. They're going to be very successful, they're just going to be a doer, or they're not going to do very well and they're going to have issues in the workplace because of their attitude or arrogance or lack of empathy or diversity issues or what it happens to be. Okay? So that's my story. Now I built, after health tech, I founded CBS HealthWatch. Turned out to be gigantic. It was the first health site on the internet for consumers. CBS Corporation came in 3 months of a bunch of people like this sitting in a room building it and said, one of our producers was misdiagnosed with cancer and you were the only site on the web that had the right information. And we're going to invest $150 million of media for 33% of your company. So kind of like the first conversation where it was they want to buy my company, this was even more shocking. And it was at a time when Mel Karazam, who was running CBS, came into the room, the head of CBS, because everybody wanted to know about the internet. Overnight, I became a celebrity. I was on the cover of magazines. I was all of that because we were building the first healthcare site, and everything that showed up on CBS News at night, or 60 Minutes, or anything, the next morning would be on my site. But there was no streaming. There was no technology to do that. We had 100 nurses on call that listened to the segment, got the material, and rewrote it for a 6th grade level to put on the site the next day. One of our biggest challenges at CBS HealthWatch was to get page load time down from 14 seconds to 5. Does everybody here born near this kind of age I'm talking about? No. Can you imagine if your page load time was 14 seconds? You would die. You would die a close death. You wouldn't even know what to do with yourself. You would be so upset. If it was 5 seconds, you still would think something was wrong. You'd be getting up. You would be throwing the phone or whatever. We figured that out with no technology. We did that. There was no pre-templated. There was nobody doing that. We actually sat in a room just like this, and tech guys and us with input figured out how we were going to lower the page load time and tried 50 things until we could get it right. Now, when these new companies, tech companies start, they just borrow AWS and borrow all this stuff, and I'm like, that's easy. You know, we had to make it up, right? CBS HealthWatch was huge. Health segments, we took that public, so I was an officer in an IPO. What was really amazing as a woman during that time is that nobody would have hired me to be a CEO of a company at that time. I could be a CEO of a pharma company right now. That would be unheard of to those executives. Not all, but most. But I could walk in a pharma company and I'd run a heck of a company. But that wouldn't be their first choice. I would look like, no way, that's not even a possible, right? So CBS HealthWatch, because CBS came in and bought it, and we got that name, and we were a match to MarketWatch and Sportsline, all of a sudden I was on a magazine cover. The next thing you know, I was allowed into that club. And what was amazing is, by being a CEO, then I got to be an officer doing 90 institutional road shows to raise money for the IPO. The education of that was unbelievable. Meeting Fidelity and, Deutsche Bank and all of the major institutions, raised over $200 million in my career. That's unbelievable, right? And then we took it public, and it was sold and became WebMD's first consumer backbone for the site that you now know well. You don't know CBS HealthWatch, but you know that site for sure, right? So that was pretty amazing. And then the market crashed. I became CEO of Oncology.com. I worked for Paul Allen, who sadly just passed away. Michael Milken, Andy Grove, the founder of Intel. These were my board members because they all had cancer. Unbeknownst to most people, every one of those men has had cancer for 20 plus years, and we built the largest cancer portal on the web. I sold that. As the internet market was crashing, I sold that to Pharmacy and Upjohn. And then the market crashed. That was a little traumatic. And then as the 2000s started to advance, mobile came, and I founded the first mobile company to teach pharma how to do mobile. So I did Merck and Lilly and Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and so forth, and built their first mobile sites. And I sold that company in 2015 to Ernst & Young. And then most recently, and then I started healthcare for Facebook. And then most recently took over Whiteley out of incubation. And Whiteley is 2 years in business doing marketing automation for big brands like Marriott and Adidas and Dell and so forth, okay? And we've raised money for that, and that now you're in the world of VCs and clients and trying to scale and grow the business so that it can be sold. So, what questions do you have? You're here for a reason. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? What was your reason for coming in here? And then what kind of questions do you have? Let's just take a second for that.
What do you think is like top 3 important soft skills for any entrepreneur and how to develop it?
Definitely, I'll lump as one, the standing up in front of the room, the being able to present, very, very important. It's what I use to raise money. It's what I use to recruit talent. It's what I use to get clients. Everybody has to be able to do it, even the engineers, because about 30% of the time of even the tech engineers, they are going to be presenting off of a PowerPoint deck. The reason this university has a course called Entrepreneurism to all the engineers was to get them talking, because the companies that came and hired all of you came back and said they cannot speak. They're brilliant, but we don't want them. They can't get up in front of a room. They can't talk to a group of executives. They can't even present in a meeting. And unless you teach them how to do that, there's better engineers, because they can be brilliant. But if you can't stand in front of a room and talk, and the engineers thought, I'm going to be at my computer, and I'm good with that by my personality. I don't want everybody to be me, right? But by my personality, their personality was I would be more comfortable sitting at a computer. That can't work, okay? Secondly, I think is definitely I will lump compassion and empathy. Humility. If I had to name those, that would be the order. That would definitely be the order, because you have to be humble enough to say you screwed up, and you have to be powerful enough to lead people. And that's a combination that has to work. I have to be up here. I have to be powerful. I have to get people to do something every day. I have to be inspirational, even on bad days. I have to yell at people. I have to drive people and say, that stinks. No, go do it again. But at the end of the day, they have to be willing to hug me to get through that. And if I can't have a relationship with 20, 30 people where they're willing to give me a hug or care about my kids, then I'm not running a good enough company to get to the next level. I'm running a good enough company to get to 10 million. There's a lot of people that can get to $10 million. There are very few that can do anything past that. Keep it going, sell it, grow it, unless they have the skills, the organizational skills that I was talking. And if you are smart and an engineer, and that's, you bend towards being an introvert or brilliant technologist, just know you then have to practice the rest of this, because it's really, really critically important. Critically important. Another question? Come on, you guys are here for a reason.
So when you look back
Yes.
at the Bell Atlantic or New Jersey
Yes.
Bell.
Yeah.
So I used to my summer internships. My mother was a manager there. So,
Okay.
So and it was probably in the 80s or late 80s. When you look back on it, do you look at that as that seems like a pretty forward-thinking thing for them to do. At the same time, we went down to Ocean City, and it turned out to not be so forward-thinking there. But to take kids out of school and put them into that position, do you ever think, when you look back on it, how do you look back on it as far as a innovative, interesting, forward-thinking thing for that company? And do you ever practice that and do anything like that as well?
Two big questions. So the first, I think that the idea of it was great. Yeah. I would have liked to see the idea about maybe we can train some of our younger people to do more. So my guess is whoever invented it to begin with probably had that idea. I think the way it was executed, however, was more like we became like subjects in a clinical study. So I think it had a little ethical issues as it rolled out. Didn't last very long either. Now you see a lot of innovation departments and training of younger people. The one thing, though, that it gave me, as you can hear, was the fearlessness for myself. Like, well, shoot, if I can climb a pole, what the heck? You know, doing this is not hard, right? Nothing else became really much harder. But the other thing was employees. So when I get employees in, I go like, hey, Steve, you know, I'm promoting you and tomorrow you're going to do this. And always the same reaction, like, what? You know, like, wait a minute, like when? And and I don't know how to do that and whatever, but I've already seen what they're capable of, right? I already know they're going to do well, right, by their skills or organization or whatever, and I throw them in, and it teaches them that they can, because they're very nervous, and they do a lot of studying, or they do a lot of work, and then they get quite good at it. So, you know, assistants of mine get promoted into account management, and it really does give me, like, I have such a live example to your second question. I have a woman that's worked for me in two different companies. She lives in Georgia, has 4 boys, completely remote. She's now probably 40-something. She's tattooed, long hair, totally beats to her own drum. She runs all of my project management, client execution, all of it, for Marriott, Dell, etc. FTD alone is running 200 campaigns a month on the Facebook platform. That means all their assets, all their ads, flower pictures, etc. She manages all of that, all of those people, everything. I come and I'm now a president of a tech firm within a big ad agency holding company. Just started. First thing I say is, oh, well, I'm definitely bringing Missy with me. They interview her, and their comment is, well, she was great, but not senior enough. Right away into the box. Now, I've met the talent there. So my feedback was, well, in everybody I've met at that level, she could run circles around them. So I'm not exactly sure what you're basing that on. But for me, I was like, wow. Because in my world, Missy gets to do whatever she's capable of doing, right? And what she's capable of doing remotely in Atlanta, Georgia, is run teams. She runs all those teams. Marriott team, this team, that team. And 2 people in London interviewed her and said, to me, the president, I am the president of the company. These are people that are also running other pieces that they had a doubt. Now, one, what kind of respect is that? If I walk in the door at my level and say, she's that good, who are you to question that if you don't even know her? And secondly, look at the evaluation. And what was that evaluation based on? That stupid piece of paper called a resume, and interviewing off the resume instead of actually talking to her. Because had they really talked to her instead of asking her canned questions, which is what I guess happened, they would have heard all that she was managing. The process, the project management, working with the client, you know. So yes, right, it was a formative. And when I speak like this, I'm hoping something resonates to 3 people, right? You hope you get through, right? That says, like, remember that story, girls. Like, I want you to remember that story. And I want you to go, when you go, oh, I can't do that. Then you go like, wait. If Meg was here, I'd get in trouble because she'd say, how do you know?
There's that pay it forward part,
Yeah.
right? So like, you got it from Bell Atlantic.
That's right.
Where you may have still ended up where you are, but they gave you this opportunity.
That's right.
You know, and this premature, whatever it might have been, they threw you into the fire, and you tend to give the people the benefit of the doubt based on their experience. You
That's
look at
right.
them and you say, hey, look, I'm going to give you the chance to do it.
Yeah.
It's like everybody, you almost pay it forward in a way. Everybody needs that kind of
Yeah.
boss. Unfortunately, a lot of times in the big corporate
Yeah.
world, it's more.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And therefore, then people think they can't do it, right? And I have the freedom to say, you sure can, and go ahead and try it. And the other thing is, so what if you fail? Like, you know, our parents, and the parents now, worse, you know, failure is not an option. Like, failure is beautiful. If I didn't fail, we wouldn't have gotten that page load time down, right? Like, failure is like, we don't even pay attention to failure. Failure is a beautiful thing, right? But you're so like, now it's the helicopter parents, and I'm a parent, I see it. It's the environment is really tough. You drive them everywhere, and they're on travel teams plus school teams and grades, and they're talking about college in 8th grade, and you're like, what was I doing in 8th grade? I went like, college? I wouldn't even thought of talking about college in 8th grade, right? But there, I know where my daughter's playing lacrosse at Notre Dame. She just started high school. She's 15 years old. That's what she tells me. I'm like, yeah, talk to me in 3 years when you're like completely a different human being. Like, I don't even, but that's what, you know. So what I don't like about that is the room for failure. Where's the room for failure? You know, where's the room for you to fall on your bike and get back on that bike? And I'm not kidding when I say that. Literally, skin your knee, fall down the hill and crash and get on the bike. Nowadays, you got 5 mothers around you. You're wearing a helmet. They won't let you go out the next day because they're afraid you're going to fall down. Go fall down. I'm telling you all here. Go fall down. If you go to a job, get every single thing out of it. You don't have to like it, and you don't have to stay there. Okay? You don't have to stay there. Forget the resume nonsense. You don't have to stay there. You maximize what you're good at.
But resume will make your future, basically. Resume is this piece of paper is what companies see and hire you.
Not really. The interview is what hires you.
Yeah, but this resume will give you the interview.
You're not going to have a bad resume, but I'm telling you right now, that's not what the world of success is about. That's not what it is. Because you have to go in there, and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. So when I was applying for jobs, okay, we had bins, paper bins across the thing. That's how I got to Verizon. Accounting. That's what New Jersey Bell said. New Jersey Bell, accounting. You know what I did with my resume? I walked around the whole room and I threw it in every single bin that looked that I liked the company. Guess how many callbacks I got? Almost every one of them. That is not you. It can represent you. You want to brag a little bit about who you are, but it's not who you are. This is who you are. I'm going to hear how smart you are. I'm going to know, right? That's what's going to win the day. And if you're sitting across from somebody so uncomfortable, then that's not the right place for you.
No, I totally agree.
You have the advantage. The companies need workers. Do not let anybody teach you that you cannot get a job or have to take any job that's offered you because it's a job. That's not the truth. Now, do more work. People are lazy. Oh, I'm working on getting a job. Really? Did you spend two hours on LinkedIn this morning? I went on. How many jobs you apply to? 2. You're looking for a job. Your job is to get up at 6 in the morning and spend 3 hours on LinkedIn every single day. Every keyword imaginable that's related to what you want to do. Engineering, Facebook, advertising, this. 500 jobs come up. Apply to them. Go on the company website after you do that on LinkedIn and go apply in the company website and let them know who you are. Ask for help on your resume to people like me that stand in front of you so I can tear it apart and tell you that's ridiculous. Let's really get it in and go to work. Because what's on that resume is work. Just show me you know how to work. Don't tell me about all your awards. That's only part of it. I want to see that you can work. I am a hiring manager and I hire a lot, but I also know them all. Trust me when I'm telling you. You are the resume. How you come across in that interview is the resume. You'll get interviews. You're all smart. Everybody here is smart. But you have to walk in that room ready. You know everything about that company, that person. There isn't anything about me you can't find out, including the fact that I have twins. Be ready. Walk in there and be ready. Oh, I see, Meg, you have twins. You just got the job, pretty much, if you tell me that you saw I have twins, okay? Trust me, I'm just, the people interviewing you are as human as you are. okay? You sell yourself. You're fantastic. Each and every one of you in your own way. I could go out to lunch. We'd have a great lunch. We'd get to know each other. We'd like each other. I have no doubt in my mind every one of you is different, and that would be the case. Let me see that person in the interview. The person that was going to go out to lunch with me and by the end be comfortable and happy and fine because I'm loving you already and I don't care about your differences and I don't even care about your rewards really, except that I hope you got good grades. What does a good grade show a manager? Do you think any hiring manager gives one baloney, unless you're in finance, about an A versus a B? Not really. What's the A versus the B show them? You worked hard. You worked hard. It's hard to get A's. I don't care how smart you are. An A shows somebody that you worked hard. A good GPA simply says to them, you worked hard. So if you have a 3.6 versus a 4.0, don't lose your mind. It's already good. They care that you worked really hard to get in front of them. But what's going to get that job, which is very competitive, over 500 other people who are going to sit across from me, is you. So if I don't like you, by the time you walk out the door, or you were too stiff or too nervous or whatever, I am not going to hire you. If you didn't do your homework, you can pretty much, for me, you're 5 minutes and I'm having somebody else interview you. That's the kiss of death for me. Oh, did you look at our website? Really, what'd you think of page 5? If they fail that, they don't even have my time. Do your homework. You're going to say you want to work for them. If you want to work for them, have the respect to know who they are. Have the respect to know who the managers are. How did it get founded? Who started that company? Right? What are they working on? Look at the press releases. What did they just win? Know who you're talking to. Okay? Know the person, because you can Google them, for goodness sake, not hard, and know the company cold. Absolutely cold. Knock their socks off how much you know about that company when you walk in that room. Very important. How many want to be entrepreneurs in the room? Okay, good. What do you want to do?
I want to continue on my own field. I want to be in the cancer field.
Doing
I
what?
work in cancer. I want to make sure that every single patient in all around the world are going to have access to cancer, not just in Europe, not just in the first world country, even in Middle East, even in third world country. I used to work for Celgene for 2 years, and up to last September, and we produce the best cancer drugs, but we just ship them to South America, European country, Canada, and US. And as soon as I started to talk about it with high-level people, that why not Middle East, why not Iran, why not Iraq, why not Turkey, everyone they stepped back and they started to talk about that. Oh no, not now, it's not the time for that. I just want to make sure that every single patient are going to have access. So.
Yeah. Fabulous. Totally possible. Yes. You.
I'm actually already part of a startup. I'm actually the president of a company called DexterityDB.
Okay.
We're actually part of the SVC, where Adrian is.
Okay.
We actually are working on a computational engine for databases to be able to integrate to current technologies out there to help speed up analytics and to be able to sift through large sums of data on the limited hardware that you have today.
Okay.
So we've been working with a lot of companies in this space, mostly trying to build partnerships right now, and working with some early potential customers on trying out a bunch of beta trials as well.
Fabulous. Come see me. Happy to help you.
Working in an organization with, we have a lot of women. They want opportunities. But the values and the making believe themselves, they got the potential to change things. It's not just doing the regular job right there, we stay at home. We try to teach them, you have the potential to doing something better than that, because this is your moment. Right now, you can prove yourself in engineering, technology, politics. You see the big turn right there in the state of New York, in politics and elections. The woman's got power.
Yeah.
The workers got powers. Women can do anything,
Yeah.
like a man. So if we prepare them, if we did that, confident to do more than that, and make them believe they got the opportunity and the chance like the man's doing the right thing, then we start working in that. All these young people right here, then centennials, millennials, they show the world right now they can change the
Yeah.
situation
Yeah.
in everywhere. So they got a chance to make it happen now.
Yeah.
That's why we're working now.
That's great. Perfect. Love it. Who else raised their hand? Yes.
So I want to start a company in imaging technology.
In
In
imaging?
imaging systems like cameras and those kind of stuff.
Okay.
So right now I'm working on one of the camera designs. It can do wideband imaging, like all like across like from microwave all the way to like maybe X-rays. Not just limiting to that alone, but also some of the new things that's happening in terms of quantum technologies.
Mhm.
I want to like innovate in that area.
Okay, to do what with? To do what with?
Mostly into imaging sensors.
Okay. Good. Awesome. Who else raised their hand? Yes.
Hi. So currently working at Accenture, but I'm doing like demand forecasting for e-com companies. We're part of the SVC. So we're using advertising as one of the parameters, which no other demand forecasting application does currently. So we saw for e-com companies that almost close to 100% of their sales are attributed to digital marketing. So something that we see opportunity.
That's awesome. And what do you want to do?
That.
That.
Yeah.
Okay, you're hired, honey. You don't even have to interview.
What if I told you that I possess the soft skills you mentioned and I wish to work with you? Would you hire me?
If I knew what you did, I probably would. Yeah. Yeah. The young talent is easy. It's the more experienced talent, actually, that's harder. But the younger talent, everybody's so smart now. Really. It's more of, and be careful of culture fit and all of those things. I find they're very discriminatory terms, actually. I don't like those culture fit words, right? I mean, look at this room, and yet we have a country that's talking about diversity. That doesn't really match up, right? But just know when you get in the companies, for the most part, they're very diverse. I don't know why we are in the situation we're in, but we are a country of great diversity, actually, on the ground where we're working. And so you believe that you can do it. And if you like the startups, if that's where you're leaning, before you start something on your own, go work. It's really important you know the working world before you do the startups. And if you're doing the startups, just know that operational rigor is number one. And if you don't know that, get that ready. How you document, how you set up your finances, how you do all of that stuff is so critical to scale. Like you're saying you're going for pilots. You make sure you have Salesforce. You're tracking them in Salesforce. You know who you talk to. Every single time you go to a meeting, your notes go in Salesforce, right? You're tracking every single bit of that. Naming conventions, something as simple as that. I go to a company right now that I truly believe should be 3 times the size they already are in profitability. I go into to a pitch for HP. Okay, HP, right? The computer company, how much money they pay. And I go, where are the decks? I go into where they send me. There is absolutely no organization whatsoever. And worse, no naming convention. Meaning, Eli Lilly, pitch version 3, 10/18/18. That's how you name a deck. Why do you name a deck that way? Why do you name a deck that way? Why is it important?
That way you know what you're doing for, who's going to talk, when it was dated, so you know that it's up to a certain.
Right, and why does that matter 2 months from now?
That way when you go back, you know
That's right.
what, at that point, what was relative.
That's right, and you're gonna forget. you're going to forget. It's like Joey's version. I'm talking a billion-dollar company. Right away, you see all the money that's lost. So if you're going to start a business in here, that is so critically important. Trust me when I tell you, you get 10 clients, 20 clients, the better you are at that, then you add the clients without thinking about it. When you hire a new employee, if you have that rigor, then you train them in what you do. This is how we do our status. This is how we keep our finances. This is how we do our meeting notes. This is how we do Salesforce. It's all they know. That's what you told them when they walked in. That's what they're going to do, right? So all new people then are operationally rigorous, right? Very important. Okay, so let me show you a little, just for fun, right, of what does that look like? Okay, great, Meg, that was interesting. First, I'm going to show you the pitchy video, so watch this for a minute.
Whether you're focused on social display or video, as a marketer, you care about conversions and what they cost. Why risk running underperforming ads when you can run the ones that convert? At Whiteley, we take a unique, different approach. We move beyond ad creation to asset creation, eliminating traditional A/B testing, which translates to exponential lifts in your conversion. With Whiteley's AI patented predictive cloud technology and patented dynamic content assembly engine, combined with the power of the Facebook ads platform for video and display, we kick traditional A/B testing to the curb and jump right into the cutting edge of AI testing. Our AI technology increases your campaign performance and conversions by automatically refining thousands of creative ad variants to find the ones that perform and automatically dropping the ones that don't. Meet Whiteley for predictive video and predictive social display ads. Our technology takes any video or display ads, deconstructs the ad elements into assets, such as headlines, CTAs, offer types, imagery, backgrounds, foregrounds, thumbnails, and text overlays. Our predictive AI engine assembles the elements of your Facebook social ads or video ads to provide insight into each creative variant combination to determine what works best for your audience. Instead of creating one ad, Whiteley's AI creates and uses the deconstructed assets to dynamically assemble thousands of ads and test them in real time. We have proven results that our technology not only improves conversions, but also provides valuable insights into future campaigns. Don't risk running underperforming ads. Give Whiteley a call today for a demo.
Artificial intelligence in action. So that's artificial intelligence related to advertising. So the way that works right now is that you hire an ad agency and you produce an ad, right? And that ad goes up on Facebook, or that ad goes on a billboard or on video, okay? With artificial intelligence now, there's no such thing as an ad. It's just a blank template. The display ad, the email, the Facebook ad, they're nothing but blank templates. They look like an ad. So the way that works is when you hit that impression of that ad, the code is inserted, okay? When that code is inserted, it instantly pulls in the first, second, and third party data. So the purchase history, the weather, the location, all of it, right? It makes a prediction of who you are based on that data. Then the second piece of the platform is it assembles that ad, okay? So based on that data and that prediction the machine makes, it then pulls in the content and puts together an ad that you just saw. And it serves it to the consumer in under 50 milliseconds. So 5-second page load time, 14-second page load time, under 50 milliseconds. So if Monday you got an ad from an email from Adidas, and the email, which is nothing but a bunch of different boxes, right, says running shoe coupon, 20% off. You don't open it. Tuesday, you go buy a running shoe. Wednesday, you go open that Adidas email, And there's the running shoe coupon. What happened? What happened? Somebody answer.
You paid more.
Inefficient marketing.
Right, because why? I already bought the running shoe. Why do I need the coupon on Wednesday, right? So that's been going on for years, by the way, waste. And people are happy with very low return. Now with AI, when you go on Wednesday and you click on that email from Adidas, okay, that code is inserted, the machine sees that you bought the sneakers, it sees that you're around the corner from a store in Manhattan, and it's cloudy outside, right? It pulls in the content that it needs, and you open that email and it says, Maggie, thank you so much for the sneaker purchase yesterday. Oh, by the way, see, it's cloudy. Look at our new Adidas umbrella, and here's the basketball shoe you were looking for right here, and there's a coupon. It is truly reaching personalization at scale. Now turn that to healthcare. And my friend in the back can only imagine, as I started in this business to help consumers and patients like you, I am not sitting in a mansion on the water because I cared about the patient. I thought that if we founded CBS HealthWatch, people would finally comply, taking their medication, right? So now we have personalization here. So if I really read your first-party data from Celgene, I will now know you're a diabetic, you have second-stage breast cancer, you're taking XYZ drug, you're located in New Jersey, Iran, or Iraq, and here's your access, and here's your mobile app, and here's your phenomenal, right?
Yes, that's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
Why, in just one, actually, if you who is living in some other countries who do not have access.
No, we know that. That wasn't the point. I got that. I'm just saying you could see the application of the personalization of this to reach those people. The delivery behind it and the negotiations with the government for money, which is all that it is not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, imagine, so my vision and my feeling as I see this applied to CPG, imagine how I feel, and this is why I've always done the tech ahead of time, how could we apply that to healthcare? And yes, there's issues behind it, but that's not really what I'm saying. At least I could provide the access, right? I mean, the application is unbelievable. If I truly can reach each and one of you and have access, and the data question is a very interesting one, right? Because for the most part, if that access is used to just simply give me something I want or present something I want and not in a dangerous way, it's a good thing. There are other issues around it, and it will be fascinating to see now, because the technology is so incredibly advanced, where that comes to, okay? That's a sales video, right? That's when it's all done. But, there's planning behind that. So how does what I just showed you happen, right? There's a lot behind it. Okay, so in this pitch deck to now board members, investors, etc., now this is a whole different thing, right? This is now the company itself. This is the business plan. So you hear a lot about business plans. There's no business plans anymore. But the structure and how I'm going to set it up is extremely important, right? And I'm not going full screen on purpose because I want to show you this. So first, I'm going to tell them who we are, okay? I'm going to give that corporate overview. Who are we? What clients do we have? Etc. Okay? An executive summary that explains, what am I doing here? What am I asking for? What I want? What do I want? Usually it's something, money, a board presentation, etc. Who are the key executives? How much do you think this matters? If you're going to hand me a check, what percentage of importance do you feel the management is to get that money? Exactly. Would you hand me a check? You bet. pretty good chance you'd hand me a check. You'd at least go bet that way, maybe, right? Very important. Okay, when you're a young entrepreneur, this is really important. Who are you going to go in the meeting with? Me. Some gray-haired guy, right? You're going to bring the bench strength. Remember, I told you, you stay where you're comfortable and you bring what you need, right? They want to trust you have the advisors and board members around you as a young entrepreneur to keep you straight. Now, you might be really good at it, but that's just a confidence thing they need to see, okay? Organization. What do you have now? What are you going to need? What is that going to look like? Who are your investors already? How much have they given you? What have you done with that money? That's right away. Okay, great. So you already burned through $5 million. What'd you do with that? And you have to explain it on this slide, okay? What patents do you have? Okay, very, very important, right? It makes me, that's one competitive barrier. If I have a patent, it's not so easy for somebody to steal it. If you don't have a patent, then anybody can create it. I can watch your pitch deck and I can put 10 guys in a room and steal your idea. And you can't do a darn thing about it, actually, okay? What's my financial overview? What's the summary of that? How are we going to grow? How do we price it? How do we price it today? And how are we going to price it in the future? Who are our top customers? What are we making from them? And what pilots did we do? And this is early deck, so this is like when it was pilots here. Selected additional customers. What am I showing off here? Now at the time, Whiteley is brand new, right? So we only came out of incubation in 2016. Look at the names I have. You don't marry for money. You go where the money is, and you marry for love. I'll say it again. Don't marry for money, but go where the money is and marry for love. If I have B&H versus Marriott, am I going to get Adidas? If I have Marriott, will they see me at least? If I have Marriott, can I get Kleiner Perkins to pick up the phone for me? Are you following me? Okay, that's why those clients are there. What am I going to do to build profitability over time? And how am I going to build that confidence? What does the market look like? Who's doing what in the market? Okay, so here, if you look at this bottom, these are the companies that were bought by these companies leading into the AI purchases. So you should give me money, Mr. Investor, because look at how big this marketplace is, right? So we're entering in a market. Here's the market opportunity. It's significant. Where are we going to fit in that market? Okay? Who are the partnerships that we need to get there, and how much are they making? Now, in the case of this deck, this was to get money from the state of New Jersey, the Economic Development Authority of the state of New Jersey, of which we did win it. And why we won, I will tell you, okay? I'm very experienced in front of the room, and my deck was better than anybody's. I have a deck like we're a $20 million company, right? This deck looks impressive, doesn't it? Right? That's a deck, guys. Don't look not impressive. Look impressive. Okay? I look like I'm in business for 5 years. We were not even in business a year here. We were not out of incubation more than months. Okay? Very, very important. Okay? So, as I was up there, what are we going to use their money for? What was the benefit? What's the benefit to New Jersey if you have a woman entrepreneur, if you have a AI company in New Jersey, right? What are our critical hires? I had this in here because that's what we were going to use their money for. So if I say I'm going to use your money to hire, then let me explain to them what that is. Who? And what am I going to use them for? It makes you look responsible, okay? And we went through that. Then we overviewed the product. As you see in my video, that video is so professional. It's phenomenal. I'm showing the company I'm president of now, which is a $50 million company. They don't have anything near that. I look, again, like a $20 million company when at this time I probably had $1.5 million in revenue. Okay? So now we go through the product. And you have to dumb it down because you have to make it very simple, just like that video did. Okay? Go through all the features, go through all the products, go through the case study, show them a case. What does it look like? Here's Marriott. Okay? Future products. Here's your competitive analysis. Now, you've all been in classes or you've heard conversations about business plans. You're looking at a really, really powerful plan. What else? It's pretty. Isn't it pretty? The colors are nice, right? It's easy to look at. It's well organized. Do you think that people have big attention spans? If you give them a black and white slide deck, you're not going to get the money. I don't care what it says. Make it nice. That video was done by Slide Genius. It cost $6,000. That's it. That beautiful video. So when clients say, do you have some information? Do you have a one-pager? You ever hear this? A business card, whatever? I'm like, oh yeah, just give me your card. I send them that on email. Do you think I get a call in? You bet. 100% of my pilots turn to a paid customer. Every pitch I did for money, I got a check. A lot of the reason why is that I look like I am in business for 10 years, totally buttoned up with a staff of 100. And at the time that this was done, we didn't even have 20 people. And that counts secretaries and everybody. I'm talking about total. Okay? Use cases. And then my executive summary pulls it all together. That's the basis of this company that you saw. That's what it looks like. Let me show you something else that's real. Okay? Here's my compensation rate card. Okay? I am a startup. Okay? I can tell you that many startups would not have this maybe ever and might probably not have it for 5 years. Okay? This is every single person in the company. This is real versus projected. This is the technologists. When I hire somebody, okay, here, everybody in my company, if they come in at that level, starts at 110. They know in their interview the next possible jump they have is 125. Here's what you have to do to get there. The next level is this. Once they hit there, they have an option to get promoted. If they get promoted, they start in the next level at their highest level there. All of the options are here. They go up too. So women in the room, you can't discriminate if you show them this, right? There's no discrimination in this chart. Do I care if you're female, male, black, white, Muslim? Do I care? No. Do you know how easy the compensation issue in this country is to fix? You're looking at it. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's easy. Make it transparent. Every level comes in at the same thing. If they're more experienced, put them at a different level. Everybody at a certain level gets paid the same, male or female, white, black, etc. The Hispanic women, Muslim women, and African American women make even less than I do. I don't make any less than anybody now. But I did until I learned this. And as a CEO, I make sure of this. So everybody knows where they stand. Every single person in my company gets equity. Why? Why do they all get equity, including secretaries?
It encourages them to do a good job.
Yep, what else?
The way they're invested in the basically growth of the company.
Exactly. So when I need them at 3 in the morning, they're an owner. They're going to share in my success. It's not going to be that the 1% makes the money and they don't. Because in fact, lower level people work harder. Just like I did. I put in my time. Right? So that's how you get them to follow you along. Now, what I'm showing you here could be done on larger scale at any major corporation in the country. There is no brain surgery behind what I just showed you. There's no politics, there's no reason it can't be fixed. It can be fixed. And it doesn't need to be projected that we'll fix it by 2020, because I can fix it within like 90 days. What do you need 3 years for? It's a choice. Diversity is a choice. So if you become a manager or an owner, I hope you'll remember that. Making it right and doing the right thing is a decision you make, and it's easy. And if you make people feel good, they will give you everything they have. Everything they have to make you a joint success. Almost without fail. Almost without fail. It's really true. And I want you to expect that from where you go to work. I don't want you to bring somebody else to work. I want you to bring your whole self to work. And if a place makes you uncomfortable, then that's not the right place for you. And you can find the right place for you. You can find the right place. Okay, what other questions do you have? Okay, well, I'm available. This is Stevens. I have a heart here, right? And so you are welcome to get my email. And if you'd like me to speak for you or come talk to your company or talk to me about your resume, you can absolutely do that.
Yes, you can just contact me and I'll provide you Meg's contact information. What a fabulous, fabulous presentation. I always love listening to you, always. And I really appreciate you joining us, and it's just a little token of our appreciation. Thank you so much, Meg. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.